you'll never get to know. Real quickly, so Matt, I would say it's similar to what I was saying back then. It's first of all, it's a pleasure to have Matt here. And this is, not to put too much pressure on him, this is a once in a decade type founder. This is, there's a class of founders. There's a lot of great people in the Valley, but there are some people that are doing things that are just amazing. Zuckerberg, Evan Williams, Jack Dorsey, and Matt Mullenweg is certainly one of them. So what a treat to have him.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I wanted to talk for a few minutes, and then I wanted to open it up because I'm very curious. It's my first time in the Balkans. It's my first time in Montenegro. I really wanted to learn a little bit more about your community here and just get a sense for what's going on. I'll start with a poll, just like Tony did. How many WordPress users are in the building? Cool, so we got a couple folks. A couple smart folks in the audience. My name, as Tony said, is Matt Mullenweg. About 8.5 years ago, when I was 19 years old, I started working on an open source project that wasn't called WordPress. It was actually called B2. B2, a lot of people don't know this, was the predecessor to WordPress. It was an existing open source piece of software. It was from Corsica, France, was the lead developer of it. And I was using it because I was looking for an alternative to the dominant blogging platforms at the time, which were Blogger and Google Typer. In fact, the name B2 was like Blogger 2. I liked it because, as opposed to, like when I used Google Type, you had to put certain files in CGI bin and certain files in this. So when you did a post, you had to wait for the whole site to rebuild and everything like that. And what was fun about B2 was it's instantaneous. It's kind of my first experience with an open source PHP, MySQL script, stuff that we all take for granted. I started playing around with it. I would customize it to my needs. I got involved with forums there, so just helping out people on the forums. Partially because I had a lot of trouble getting into Wordpress. I don't know if you've ever had that problem with the web script. And I just kind of went on and was like, hey, this is where I'm stuck. And within like an hour, someone had helped me. I thought that was the most novel thing, this piece of software that I wasn't even paying for. It was just a free community of volunteers, someone would help me. So I began to hang out on the forums more and more, and I thought, well, maybe I can help someone else. Pay it forward. Someone did something else for you, do something else for them. And I'm very, very lucky that initial experience was so good because it sort of led me to now my entire professional career has been in open source software. So I'll skip forward a little. The lead developer of B2, the development of B2 basically stopped. The lead developer had sort of disappeared. People weren't really sure what was going on. But at that point, I published a few code modifications, including one patch that actually made it into the core B2 software. And I was on the forums. And so I did a blog post. And I said, well, I'm not sure what to do next. I would love something, because there's no real perfect solution out there yet. I wanted the extensibility of Google Tech, which had a strong blogging community at the time. I wanted something with the simplicity of Blogger, the elegance of something called text pattern, which isn't very widely known anymore, and then the hackability of B2. Like, it was easy for me, even someone with no programming background, to just go into B2 and start playing around with it, making cool modifications. This guy who I'd never ever met before in England, named Mike Little, left a comment. I was like, well, if you're serious about this, I'd be happy to help you out. And that was the birth of WordPress, right there. Mike and I started collaborating. We had never met before. I was a 19-year-old kid in Houston. He was, I think, like a 32, or probably 29 or 32-year-old programmer in England. And just started working together. Started to get the first of the users, and that was WordPress. We actually have a logo of it. It's on the screen. Someone can switch this. But that's how everything got started. And from there, it was really just a bunch of uninteresting things until I made my About.me profile. Okay. About.me/Matt. Check it out. No, from there, everything was very organic. I get asked a lot of times, what was the overnight success or the tipping point of WordPress? And there are a few things. There are a few sort of big people who switched over that were very notable, or some press that had gotten, but really that would cause sort of a momentary blip. And the actual growth pattern looked a lot like this. It was really driven by, because we were an open source project with no money or anything like that, we didn't have any marketing, we didn't have any sort of the things we would think we were going to do are, all we had was our users. And so to the extent we made those users happy, to the extent that we sort of got every person who was using the software to develop it and contributing on the forums and helping out, WordPress started growing in a very organic way, and over the years, that became a pretty interesting number. It's kind of a funny thing, so I was in college when this all happened, and I was not a very good student. So I ended up getting a job offer, not because I was a bad student, but because WordPress was starting to gain some notoriety from a company called CNET in San Francisco. So I flew out to CNET to San Francisco to visit, and I was completely blown away just by, because I grew up in Houston, Texas, which was very warm, it's a big urban sprawl. And San Francisco is one of the most beautiful places in the world, almost as beautiful as here. And I was just blown away. I was like, well, I could wait 2 more years and get a degree and hope to get a job like this, or I could sort of, leave right now. So after some long, long conversations with my parents, convincing them. It was actually kind of funny. The thing like my mom was most interested in was, do they have healthcare? Is this a real company? Will they be around? Yes, Mom, it's a public company. There's stock. It's on the stock exchange. They have a building in San Francisco. She really wanted me actually to go to Google because she was afraid when I moved from Houston, I wouldn't eat. That was obviously not a problem. But she was like, oh, they have free food there. They're even cut your hair. Maybe I should listen to that one. But I ended up going to CNET, and it was a fantastic experience because CNET is gone. They're now on the CBS Interactive, but you probably know them as like download.com, news.com, CNET.com, which have reviews of gadgets and electronics and everything. And they were really one of the first people to do content on the web in a big way. In fact, the very first content management systems on the web, and vignettes and everything, were actually spun out of what CNET was doing in the early 90s, when I was in elementary school. And so being there's a lot of context, and I learned a ton about sort of how large organizations need to manage their content and their authors and everything like that. But after a year, it became obvious that they didn't really think that blogs were going to be a big growth thing. And I really felt strongly that if we could take WordPress, which at the time was software that you would download and install, and this was before the days of one-click installs or anything like that, so you literally had to download a zip file, or probably a tar.gz file, unpack it, upload it to a web server, configure a database, set up the permissions. Like, it was quite difficult for I to get WordPress going at the time. I thought, well, we got something with this software. If we can make it sort of one-click easy, like you can set up a blog in just 30 seconds, what'll happen? And that was the idea behind WordPress.com. So I left. At this time, I finally met Tony Conrad, who's one of my early supervisors, Tony Schneider, Phil Black, a few folks that were involved early on, Omala, who really introduced me to a lot of these people. And I thought, well, let's give this a go. So I left my job at CNET and founded a company called Automatic. Automatic is spelled Automatic. I've managed to work my name into almost everything. A lot of people don't get that joke or whatever you call that. But the idea was basically to take, I was very fortunate in CNET that they allowed me to spend a percentage of my time working on WordPress. So I had my job and my responsibilities there. They're like, if you want to spend 10-20% of your time, basically every week, just working on WordPress, that's okay. And that was amazing. This is the time when WordPress a lot of growth because it really hadn't had that kind of dedicated time spent on it before. Well, wouldn't it be amazing to create a company where that's the whole idea? Like, the entire company is organized in a way that we're contributing to open source software just as a matter of fact of building whatever we're doing. And wouldn't it be amazing if I could make a full-time salary doing that? And maybe I could hire some of these other people involved with WordPress, and they could do that as well. So that was the original idea behind Automatic. And the first product was actually not WordPress.com, little known fact. The first product was actually an anti-spam system called a Kismet. Does anyone know what a Kismet is, or should I continue shaking their heads? So basically, just like you get spam in your email, your wall gets spam. People will leave comments and say, oh, this is a wonderful blog post, it's the most amazing thing I ever read. And you're so happy, and then you realize that the URL is like, enlarge your mortgage by .com. Not that me, obviously. And so it just doesn't work. It's very annoying. It's when your mom visits your site, it becomes quite embarrassing. that happened to me. So, figured we'd the anti-spam system. And it was an add-on for WordPress, a plugin for WordPress. And it had a business model in that it was free for personal use, but once you got above a certain threshold, or you're a business using it, it would cost, starting at $5 a month. And then a few months later, I think it launched around December 2005. By the way, December is a terrible time to launch a new product. Just don't do that. We were really kind of off. So we finally launched WordPress.com, which is sort of the put in your email, get a blog address, set the domain of WordPress.com within seconds. And really, I think we launched on like December 12th or something. And the first 20 days of it, very, very modest signups. We'd done a beta program before, kind of like Tony talked about, where before it was public, you could get invites to the system, which we call golden tickets. Does anyone know Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? That was kind of the inspiration, the idea that you could open a chocolate bar and get a golden ticket. And so we had this golden ticket system, which I think we were one of the earliest ones to do. And it was very exciting because people were actually selling the tickets on eBay. A ticket went for like $105 for a sign-up account for a free web service. I thought that might be a business model for a while. I actually found out that one of them was sold by one of our employees. But, so we had this huge demand beforehand, and then when we actually launched, it was just like, It was very, very slow, very, very slow. And then sort of January 3rd, I guess everyone came back from vacation and started going with that again. But man, those first 20 days were very, very tense. It's almost like you work, and you put it out there, and nothing happens. So I was launched WordPress.com. That was about 5.5 years ago. We now add over 40,000 blogs every single day to WordPress.com, which has been very, very exciting. We've developed some businesses around it, including selling domains and video upgrades and things like that, that have been very successful. And the best part about it is that Automatic as an entity still is built 100% on open source software. So the WordPress that we run for WordPress.com, that runs 25 million sites, is the exact same WordPress that you can download on WordPress.org today and run on your own server, which is kind of the whole idea behind creating something that was sort of a complementary balance between the commercial and the non-commercial, and it's worked very well so far. I also, since we're here at this .me thing, I want to talk about two things we're doing with .me. The first is that we're very early on getting WP.me, which might have been one of the first two-letter. Yes. It was nice. The first ever two-letter .me domain, and we were using it, or decided we wanted to use it for a shortener. So obviously in a tweet, every direct accounts, we had WP.com, but WP.me is a letter shorter, which means it gives a little more space for your tweet. So we started using that as a shortener. I don't remember exactly when, but I did just look up the numbers before it came up. And now over 1.3 billion people have clicked on one of those links in the past, year or so, since the launch. That's pretty cool. I mean, 1.3 billion people have gone through, or clicks, have gone through .me domain. And the second thing I'm very excited to announce is that traditionally on WordPress.com, when you sign up, you can get a .com, a .net, or a .org domain. And starting today, as a celebration of being here in this wonderful country, we're going to start offering .me domains. I'm very excited about this because Tony was talking about namespace issues. A name can make such a huge difference, right? And you have a namespace which is a little bit more premium, and it costs a little bit more, there's not as many of them, and it actually works. Like, I have a .tt domain, but if my name wasn't Matt, and it wasn't ma.tt, I don't think I would get .tt, or .cc, or any of these others. .me, through the fortune of your country code, actually ends up being something that actually sounds pretty cool with a lot of names. So I'm excited about that. And that's kind of the story up till now. I wanted to open it up for a few questions, if you have some WordPress-related questions. And then I actually really wanted to check out WordPress phone, but I mean, we'll stick with it. It's pretty neat. I wanted to call Tony back up to the stage in a few minutes, just so we can have sort of a combo Q&A, because I think there's a lot of what I know about entrepreneurship and everything like that I learned with Tony or from Tony. And so I thought it would be cool to get some of perspectives on, particularly those of you doing new businesses or startups that want to launch something new on the web, from both of us. But first, if you had any questions at all about WordPress or open source or anything like that, I'd be happy to entertain.